All right, let's now welcome Dr. Ferrial Adam, Executive Manager at WaterCAN, to weigh in on this new crisis. Doctor, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to the show. So this water crisis, or at least to those who have had to be without water for long periods of time, will agree, but it has not yet been flagged as a crisis by the relevant authorities in the country for now. But it has thrust the country into a tailspin where it's not just one area, but most municipalities in the country. But this simply cannot be accepted, especially in the big metros that are also huge economic hubs, as it has huge implications.
Good afternoon to you and to all your viewers. I agree with you completely. In fact, yesterday I was speaking to an activist in Durban who said that, the focus has been totally on Gauteng, but they have real issues as well in KwaZulu-Natal. And I'm really glad that there's a focus on it right now. And the issues that they're experiencing in KwaZulu-Natal does not just start with the rain bomb of 2021. We have evidence, in fact, their own evidence shows that the wastewater treatment works in many parts of KZN were not working even before that. So there were high amounts of pollution flowing into rivers and dams at the time. So I think this has been an ongoing issue. It's the same kind of things we've experienced in Gauteng, where for a number of years, maybe even a decade, where people did not spend, and I say people, government, did not spend enough on the maintenance of infrastructure. And that is what we're seeing. So while they're talking about the dam that they're building that will only be ready in 2029, I think that you can't wait for that and leave the infrastructure in the state that it is now. KZN or eThekwini loses about 50% of its water through leaks, non-billable water and theft.
And just with the mention of KZN alone, Doctor, I mean, having spent a week there with having no water the entire week, I mean, it speaks to the level of mismanagement, and maybe seemingly people, the communities feel like the authorities simply just do not care. The minister in this portfolio said we have to start getting used to using water sparingly, but I want us to look at what has been some of the biggest contributing factors that have led us here. We've been told about, of course, climate change, as well as uneven investment in water infrastructure, like you mentioned earlier on, much like we're told pretty much with electricity and load shedding. So this is apparently now the new combination of factors that is causing these water outages. But could these not have been mitigated and provisions prepared for well ahead this crisis?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that what we've been saying as well is that the people who are asking us to save water need to save water themselves. So if we look at the leaks, I mean, if you look at the insert that you had, there's complete lack of trust. The trust between people and government is completely broken down, and rightfully so. In KZN, we're also just touching on the surface, because in the south of KZN, as you get further and further away from Durban Central, there's also the water quality that's a concern in parts of the province in terms of tap water. So and the issue of increasing population doesn't increase overnight. So there had to be better planning in place for that. So I agree. I think that this is something that government needs to own up, that their own neglect, and for whatever reason, has got them to this point.
Absolutely.
And that is a real challenge. I think that how do they now focus on dealing with the infrastructure and making sure that people have water? And the other thing is real. I mean, the person who said that, there's no proof of vandalism, the truth of the matter is that the one aspect that we are concerned about in KZN is it has one of the biggest water tanker companies in the region. And that has to be questioned. Why is that allowed to flourish while ordinary, infrastructure just allows to be deteriorated?
And Doctor, interestingly enough, communities that are actually up in arms about their taps being dry are the lucky ones. We have entire towns and communities that have never seen a tap, or their taps were installed but never had a drop of water in them. So how much is the crisis then for those seemingly forgotten communities? And of course, this is not a new phenomenon, Doctor. We were confronted with a similar scenario back in 2015, meaning ample time has passed to address all these challenges. So where are we falling short in terms of delivery, you think?
I think that if we look at from that point, and that's a very good, from 2015 and even earlier than that, I think we've been having issues with our water, is that it started at a national level. And it started with state capture. And you will remember that, Minister Mokonyane was then the minister and stopped many projects. And then at the local level, municipalities were just not spending the right amount of money on maintenance. So this is a decade-long problem. I'm hoping that at some point, we're moving in the right direction. So the Department of Water and Sanitation now has had, the previous minister was better, this one seems to be better as well, and moving towards creating what they call platforms for water security. They have one in Gauteng, they have one in eThekwini. So there's a focused approach. The challenge, though, is the plans are there, and we need to have implementation. And for as long, and if you look at the AG's report on municipalities and how badly they're performing, then it doesn't give us much hope. But we have to keep pushing. There has to be a bigger voice from civil society. And some of the people who were saying that, why do you only come here when we're protesting? Where are you when we don't have water? And those are very valid concerns and issues. That's what people are experiencing on the ground. And this kind of frustration and anger is growing.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And that big concern by the water authorities saying that the biggest issue there is actually municipalities that are failing to keep up or collect payments, and that is leading to the non-maintenance of critical infrastructure, in this case, water infrastructure. Thank you so much to Dr. Ferrial Adam, the Executive Manager at WaterCAN, on the ongoing water crisis in parts of the country.